Okay, we are live, amigos. ¿Qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with this evening's live stream, the 3rd of November, 7:35 p.m., looking at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press today. One story dominating the press, as is expected, and that of the tragic Valencian floods, which, as we know, have so far killed around 214 people, not 1,000, 214 people, unfortunately, have lost their lives. We'll get straight into the news. We'll look at some comments in just a moment and also go into the chat section and see what is happening there. But let's get the news out of the way first of all. And the royal family, the King and Queen of Spain, Prime Minister Sanchez, and Generalitat or Valencian Premier Mazón have been heckled with shouts of murderers during their visit to the town of Paiporta, which was the main one hit by these floods. Hundreds of people heckled the King and Queen, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, and Valencian Generalitat President Carlos Mazón during their visit on Sunday to Paiporta, the epicenter of the devastating Dana that has caused at least 62 deaths in that town. Just minutes into the visit, people began throwing mud, bottles, and reeds while hurling insults, especially at Sanchez, with chants like Pedro Sanchez, son of a bee, and also calling for Mazón's resignation. Queen Letizia was also heckled. King Felipe attempted to calm the crowd, speaking with some of the residents who criticized the authorities for the delay in aid. Forces are deployed everywhere to the extent possible, he commented. The civil guard, along with police officers, improvised the security cordon to contain the crowd, who repeatedly shouted, "Murderers, murderers, we've lost everything, get out of our town." So the Spanish politicians, the two main politicians there, the president or premier of the Generalitat of Valencia, Prime Minister Sanchez, and the King and Queen of Spain, as we saw there, facing a hostile environment on their visit to the town of Paiporta, which, as we saw, was the epicenter of these floods, with 62 people currently registered as dead, and that figure expected to go up by quite a lot once they get into the big Valencia shopping centre that had a car park completely flooded, and nobody has been able to get in there since those floods occurred. So we'll see what the final result of this tragedy is, but some people expecting a lot more than the 214 deaths, unfortunately. And as I said, we'll see in coming days when experts are able to get into that car park, which they're trying to get the water out of currently. But the rumours are that people tried to save their cars in that car park and were trapped in the flood. So we'll see what the full extent is, but as I said, in coming days. But the royal family, or the King and Queen, the Prime Minister and the Premier of the Generalitat, not well received in the area of Paiporta, as can be expected. Part of the reason why people are angry there is because, as we can see here, there were 4 days without control that worsened the devastation of the deadliest Dana, with more than 200 dead, around 15 towns devastated, and thousands of families who have lost everything. The flood has left behind a mix of shock and anger. How could this happen in the 4th largest economy in the Eurozone, a developed country, a full democracy, where authorities were unable to adequately prevent or respond to a brutal force of nature? The state struggled in tandem with the wild flood, drowning in a web of jurisdictional conflicts and a back and forth of shifting responsibilities and narratives, while citizens were left to bail out mud and search for the missing. From Tuesday afternoon until Saturday morning, the situation was marked by disorganisation, the abandonment of affected residents, and confusion among regional and central authorities. There was a failure in both risk perception and in the alert communication chain to the public. And that is why, as I said before, people are so angry. They feel abandoned by authorities because of the reasons that we saw in that article there. Basically, disorganisation. They can't get it together, to and froing from the central government here in Madrid and also the Valencian government on opposite sides of the political spectrum, and the narrative shifting according to who you listen to, which is not what people in that area need. And that's why they were angry with those people today. And the anger will continue, no doubt. And it will play out in a big way, I feel, in coming years or months, probably, whenever we see next elections in this country. Another piece of news here: in approximately 325,000 people and 75,000 homes make up the Dana's ground zero, according to the Copernicus system. Around 325,000 people and over 75,000 homes are located in the ground zero area of the Dana, the devastated the Valencian province, particularly in ERUPTS Sud, resulting in over 200 fatalities and hundreds missing. Maria Casado, a direct witness to the aftermath, reports that aid has yet to fully arrive. The data released on Saturday by the European satellite program Copernicus has been analysed by the team of Maria Dolores Pitarch, a professor of human geography at the University of Valencia. Pitarch explained that several days after this extreme weather event, the exact boundaries of the flood from last Tuesday, October the 29th, remain unknown, although the images provided by Copernicus show the extent covered in mud and sludge. And the images, satellite images coming through, you can see the full extent of the damage that this flood created. Unbelievable scenes, not only from satellite but also from people on the ground in that area. The wreckage, all of the debris lying around still, and the mud, which is the huge issue, which will take months, if not years, to clean up and get everything back to normal in that part of Spain. Next piece of news here: a flood that no one expected. They predict the Dana, and everyone hears about it except us. The Dana that struck the province of Valencia will be remembered as one of the most destructive weather events in recent Spanish history, and certainly the worst of the 21st century. Due to a combination of geographic and meteorological factors, the Valencian community frequently experiences cold drop episodes characterized by torrential rains that can cause rivers and ravines to overflow. However, in the region of ERUPTS Sud, hit mercilessly by the floods, no one expected something like this to happen. This is unimaginable. I wasn't born yet during the Rua of 1957, but I'm 58 years old, and in my entire life this is the first time I've seen anything like this, says Dolores, who has come down to the entrance to talk to her neighbours who live in a ground floor house and are now removing all their belongings, completely covered in mud. The event this resident of Benitusa refers to is the Great Floods of Valencia. It occurred on October 14, 1957, when a series of torrential rains caused the Turia River to overflow. The flooding was devastating. It resulted in at least 81 deaths, impacted thousands of people, and caused immeasurable damage, material damage. Until now, it was remembered as the most significant natural disaster in the area. And the words there, until now, with that death toll well and truly past. 85 back in 1957, as we can say, or 81 back in 1957, and here we're looking at 214, but possibly hundreds more that are still missing, might have met their death, unfortunately, in these floods. And the final piece of news: how to mitigate the next Dana. Floodable parks, reforestation, and temporary lagoons, and urban drainage. Once the severe flooding caused by the Dana in Valencia, which has resulted in hundreds of deaths and missing persons subsidized, we must reflect on how to adapt cities and territories in a context where climate change is intensifying extreme weather events. Experts indicate that to mitigate the impact of torrential rains and flooding, we need to manage rivers many kilometres before they reach urban areas. Modify urban plans to account for risks, which may even require relocations, create floodable river parks, establish temporary lagoons, and prioritise urban drainage and nature-based solutions. A large part of the damage from floods is due to the mud and debris carried by the waters from hills, mountains and slopes. Therefore, it is essential to reforest and care for the mountains and lands in river basins, says Iñaki Alday, Dean of Architecture at Tulane University in New Orleans, a city accustomed to dealing with climate disasters. So we'll see. We will see if the government heeds the advice of people like Mr. Iñaki Alday, a Spaniard obviously working in the States, expert in this field, and they sort these issues out to make cities and towns in this country safe from possible danas in the future. And those are the keys, as we can see there: floodable parks, reforestation, temporary lagoons, and urban drainage. And some people no doubt asking themselves, why haven't these things been done before? That's the question. And why have so many people been able to build on land that is susceptible to these risks? As I mentioned yesterday, another article we'll look at in maybe on Tuesday, some 3 million homes in this country are in danger areas, risk areas for this type of thing. So be careful, and with the heavy rains continuing today in places like Valencia and other cities on that Mediterranean and coastal areas in Spain, who knows what is around the corner as far as the next disaster is concerned. But hopefully we can mitigate the effects of these torrential downpours. Into the comment section here, one from Helena. Has the removal of dams in the area made the effect worse from Dana? Well, the answer quite simply, as we can see here, from El Mundo, the El Mundo logo in the wrong place here, but the hoax of demolished dams and another storm of fake news during Dana. If lies are not stopped, the something to us chaos. I don't know what that is covering there. I'll have to have a look, but you can get the idea that yesterday the emergency services warned of the public order problems that could be caused by the flood of misinformation. So there we go. And basically for people like this person who left this comment and other people in the comment section who have said something similar, these are hoaxes, okay? These are hoaxes. It has nothing to do with dams that might have been demolished. And as we can see, that should say they will lead us to chaos. All of these hoaxes and all of these conspiracy theories that are flying around. Not only that person that put that one there, but other people also believing, the internet warriors that are out there writing all of these hoaxes and possible things that could have caused this. And it's got nothing to do, according to the experts, some dams that might have been removed. In fact, I don't think any dams have been removed in recent years, and not in the Valencia region. So people putting this stuff on this channel and spreading it on the internet, just give it a rest, because it leads to more chaos and people get angry and look for answers that stem from things that are not true. Okay? So thanks, Helen, but please refrain from comments like that in the future. One here from Arctic Fox. My heart breaks when every day we see more and more the effects of what this deluge water has brought, but at the same time my heart swells when I see the army of ordinary citizens queuing up with brooms, shovels, rakes, etc. to help wherever they can. Well, that's what they got to do. People have got to get in there with rakes, brooms and shovels to clear out the mud, because the mud is the huge issue that residents in those areas are facing. And how long before that mud is cleaned up, I've got no idea, because it's blocking drains, it's blocking everything down there, not to mention the material damage that it has caused to people that live on ground floor homes, which as we know are the ones most affected. So thanks for that, Arctic Fox. One from Karen. How this disaster hasn't been categorised as a national emergency beggars belief. Regardless of political views, the government should be pulling together. Prayers for all those affected. Thank you for highlighting what is happening. Yes, Karen, that is true. The government should be working together regardless of their political ideologies and their way of thinking, but it's not happening. Mr. Mathon, the Valencia Premier, has said that he wants to take charge of the clean-up of the disaster from now on, with the help of the central government, and he's asked different ministries to lend a hand, for example the housing ministry, to get people into homes if possible. So we'll see if the different governments can coordinate, because we're talking 3 levels of government. We're talking local government, council government, the autonomous community government, and also the central government that need to be working together to get things sorted. Another one here from South Yarraman. Can you please list alphabetically the affected towns and roads? My suggestion is that the Valencian government consults with the Netherlands government and its civil engineers for constructing flood barriers. If anyone knows how to do it, it's the Dutch. Yeah, well, I would be surprised if expert engineers haven't looked at that situation in the past, but I don't know what's gone wrong with the civil engineering, if there have been problems with the infrastructures that have been set up. I've got no idea, but maybe it is time to turn to the Dutch and learn their secrets when it comes to dealing with this type of thing. But maybe they'll come down here and say, well, there's nothing we can do unless we demolish thousands and thousands of houses, which I don't know whether that would be an option or not, or whether the country could afford it. But thanks for the thought, South Yarraman. One here from Ocean Earp. As a Spanish person, I feel ashamed of the politicians of this country. The whole government should resign, and so should the opposition. They are all useless. We are fed up. Honestly, thanks to all the people who are helping. It has become a real civic movement behind this, given the slowness of the central government and the Valencian government to react. People have got out with their brooms and shovels, as we saw, and rakes to get rid of the debris, clean up the mud. And politicians, this Spanish person here saying, shameful, the actions of politicians in this country. Another one here from Luis, the final one. It's time to unite, not confront each other. Always the same. How sad. Unfortunately, Luis, that is true. That is true, unfortunately. But not only here in Spain does it happen, unfortunately. Not only here in Spain does it happen. Now, we're going to go into the chat section in just a moment. Before I do, I'll put the like icon on the screen. If you're watching this evening's live stream and you haven't hit the like icon yet, please do so. Just below the video, you will find it. I'm going to change the backdrop, spice things up a bit. This one was sent in by Begoña from Santander. Nice coastal shot of that city. One of my favorite cities in Spain, Santander. And if anybody has a similar picture that they would like to see on the backdrop, the email address, is this one here, spainspeaks@gmail.com. Feel free to send them through. Also, if you want to help people in need after these floods, you can. There's some support options here. One is a BSIM number. If you're living in Spain and have a Spanish bank account, you should have BSIM set up so you can transfer some money or send some money to an account, which will get to the victims, of course. And also Valencia Secreta is a website where you'll also find different ways that you can support the people in need at the moment. I'll leave those on the screen as I go through some of the comments too. Now, I'll go into the comment section just now. Let me see if I can find them. There we go. Let's have a look. Joe, the first person I can see. I saw a baby getting airlifted by a helicopter medic. It was so scared and crying. It made me tear up. Well, I can imagine it was a very scary situation, but obviously we need to get the younger folk out of there, and also people that are able to be rescued, of course, taken to safer places, maybe to hospital, get some help. And I can imagine that they were terrifying scenes, seeing such a young child being lifted out by a helicopter, separated from its mother, of course. Barbara coming in from the Playa Flamenca. We've been lucky not to be flooded, but have had rain and storms today. So upsetting to see the aftermath of the Valencian storms. Absolutely. One here from David. Various comments from David here. We'll have a look at one or two. Oldest due, the strength of the Dana was unimaginable to the government. This was a unique natural disaster. No one was prepared for even government. Rivers need to be dredged and an opening to the sea opened. Oh, I think that's what you mean to say, David. Bit hard to read, but anyway, thanks for that. TOL in San Diego currently. Other times in El Puerto de Santa Maria, which also had flooding, but not as devastating as Valencia, fortunately. 1.5 feet of water in the center. One of our favorite restaurants, Bibu, had substantial damage. No deaths, the most important thing. All the rest can be taken care of course, but never get your life back. Never get it back. Hello to all the lovely Valencian people, says Amanda. One here from High Flyer John. in the chat too. Wishing everyone a great week ahead. Thanks, John, for that. Janet, coming in from Oxford, cannot comprehend what the people of Valencia region are suffering. Tragic beyond words. Yes, Barbara, that is very true. Tragic beyond words. Hi, Stu. First of all, I'd like to extend my heartfelt condolences to all those that have lost their loved ones in this awful flooding. Thanks, Heidi, for that. A lot of people, unfortunately, still don't know the whereabouts of their loved ones. They've only got an idea what could have happened, so they're waiting, as I said, for a lot of underground car parks to be cleared and the damage and the carnage assessed, of course, in those underground car parks. And that's why people are thinking that the death toll could go a lot higher. Some people are exaggerating, of course, on social media. There's a lot of hoaxes out there. People seem to get enjoyment from this type of thing. But very, very difficult to stop what people put on social media, as we know. And what the end game of these people is, I've got no idea. But as we can see, it leads to chaos, it leads to panic, and it leads to people questioning a lot of things. And none of it is good. Gigi coming in, greetings and to all, and prayers for all who are facing this tragic event. Thanks, Gigi, for that. Terrassa, it's been wet there, just stopped raining. What a mess. What an absolute tragedy. Absolutely. Flooded girl coming in from Toronto, 8 degrees. Still, heart still aching for the Valencian region. Thanks, Flooded girl, for that. Got to go through thousands of cars which likely have, well, that's the idea, isn't it, Joe? But the exact figures are not coming through currently. A lot of people critical some people are even saying that the government's keeping information, but I don't think that's true. One of the ministers put out a tweet today saying that they're doing everything that they can. Everything else is just speculation, and better not to speculate in these times because it leads to confusion. So we have to wait and see when people get into these underground car parks. And like I said, one of the biggest shopping centres in Valencia, one of the main ones affected, very close to this place, Pay Porta. And that's the main car park where there could be, as Joe says, there hundreds, if not thousands of cars. So we'll wait and see. But no point speculating just yet. Heidi, from what I saw, the king didn't falter. He went and talked to people who were rightfully upset and angry, but mainly at Sanchez. Yeah, Sanchez was the one copping the majority, but he was standing behind the king when the mud was flying, the sticks were flying, the bottles were flying. The king did stick around. He started talking to people, listening to their stories, whereas Mr. Sanchez hopped in the closest vehicle and got out of there, according to all reports. So, again, and the Valencian premier, not sure if he stuck around or not, but the king did stick around, as we saw, and did talk to the people and listened to their complaints. Kathy's in the playa there, Chiraco, Valencia, with her elderly mum. Thank God we're okay. I can foresee supply chain problems with so much damaged infrastructure. Mercadona shelves were bare yesterday in Gandia. Well, that's right. Absolutely. Good to see you guys are well. Mario, why has the government taken down most dams in all of Europe? Well, we saw before, Mario, that's a fake or a hoax. Thanks. We don't want to see that in the comment section here. Just, again, these things get spread online. There's probably some things that have been changed, but according to experts, it wasn't one of the reasons why things failed in Valencia. So keep it out of the chat, please. Sanchez quickly ran off when people started throwing objects at them, but the king and queen stayed more than an hour. There we go. Thanks, Diego, for that. Philip coming in from gloomy and cool London. Excellent report on the floods. Thanks, Philip. I'm just saying what's in the Spanish news, getting it out there. Joe, yes, there are a lot of conspiracy theorists in the comment section while people are dying and suffering. Shameless nutters. Thanks, Joe, for that. Again, people have opinions and they share them online, and some of them do it for whatever reason. I've got no idea. Brian, been keeping an eye on the weather here in Calpe because we're getting storms coming through this area. The Doppler radar showed more large storms passing through Valencia que Triste. Thanks, Brian. Recent new resident in Spain is Brian, and also a valued member of the channel. Thanks for that. Kim saying, yes, let us move forward. I can remember Albert Van. It's also awful. Again, Mario's talking about absolute rubbish. Mario, we'll get rid of you. Thank you very much. Alma coming in here. Thank you for the update. I hope lessons are learned from this tragedy. That's what we hope, Alma, that we learn some lessons from this, that they don't repeat themselves, but unfortunately we know that won't be the case. It'll happen somewhere else another time, whether it be here in Spain or another European country. It'll happen, or anywhere else in the world. Frequently walks, says burnt from Valencia to Picaña when there. I assume the flood flushed down the river through Picaña and so on to Paiporta and Masanasa before reaching the coast. Yes, because that's where the water heads. It heads to the coast. It heads to the coast. What else we got going on here? That happens when you refuse to sell weapons. What's this? Tiny Hat Mafia? They unleashed the what? Don't know what that's going on about. What else? Let's have a look. Let's have a look here quickly if I can find something to bring to the table here. In our local town of Pedralba yesterday, and it was rammed with young people and us cleaning the lower part of the town. Quite moving. Thanks, CR, is it? CR67. Let's have a look. What else we got going on? Pouring down again tonight. Welsh hasn't commented until now. It's a complete tragedy. I thought the king did his duty in very difficult circumstances. Yeah, well, he stuck around, which is what he should have done and did do. Mr. Sanchez, as we saw, and the press has been critical of Sanchez for getting out of there, not facing the music, but the bottles were flying, and the majority of the abuse was against Sanchez. Again, the way the press covered this here, you would have thought it was against the royal family only, but you listen to what was going on, it was definitely anti-Sanchez. There might have been some anti-king and queen chants as well, but Sanchez was the big one, and Mathon was also as well, getting a lot of criticism. So I don't know whether he stuck around or not, but Sanchez got out of there. But if you read some of the pro-government press, you would have thought that it was only aimed at the kings. But I think some of them have since rectified once they've looked into the story further. And an extraordinary event, but when all this is over, there will have to be a serious rethink about emergency responses. They can be improved, of course. It's unfortunate that these things to happen. These things have to happen before we improve these systems. And as somebody pointed out the other day, 2020. What's the expression? Hindsight is 2020. So it's always difficult. The anger was directed at Pedro Sanchez, who fled immediately. You may see other scenes where people comforted a crying queen. Yeah, different images, but people take a different narrative out of this, of course. And unfortunately, the central government has one narrative, the Valencian government has another one, and the people on the ground have their own narrative, and that's the story that we need to be listening to. So, troubled times down there. It will be, I said yesterday, months, years, decades before some of those towns recover. I'm not talking about the material damage, but obviously something like this stays with you for the rest of your life if you are affected, of course. Robert saying, here in Poland, the journalist said the floods were caused by dissembling of dikes and dams because they ruined the landscape and weren't ecological. Is that true? Again, I'll put this on the screen. According to the press here, we can see, I'll just move this one out of the way, the hoax of demolished dams and another storm of fake news during the Dana. If the lies are not stopped, it will lead us to chaos. That's what happens with this type of story. The person that wrote that comment there, I'll just put it back on the screen, Robert, that people hear a lot of things and they think this is the reason why they have, why people have lost their lives. But according to all reports from everything that I've read here, these are fake news stories. And they're being thrown around because people, as we saw before, like to create chaos for whatever reason. You can come to your own conclusion on who spreads these news articles, why they spread so quickly on social media, and who is behind them. But they're not good. They're not good. Now I'm going to start to wrap this up. I'm going to bring it to an end. Joe here saying that this has been discredited. Always check multiple sources, which unfortunately a lot of people don't seem to do. They seem to take one side of the story, the side of the story which suits their particular narrative, and throw these ideas out there, share these ideas, and that is one of the big problems that we have nowadays. And as I said, you can come to your own conclusions as to who is behind it, why people do it, but you could also come to other conspiracy theories and go down that rabbit hole and never come out. So take care. Now I'm going to wrap this live stream up. It's been a pleasure as always. I'll be back again on Tuesday with another one. Some more regular content coming out during the week as well, so stay tuned for that. It's been a pleasure. As I said, hasta luego, hasta entonces, adios. And don't forget those ways that you can support the people in need in the Valencian community and other parts of Spain that have been affected by these floods and the terrible Dana. Not a storm called Daniel, which somebody said on the internet. It's called a Dana. Okay, and it's a weather phenomenon, and it can cause a lot of damage, as we have seen. Good night.